I recommend using an external dongle, a Chromecast, a Roku, something like that that connects to an HDMI port. It doesn't have a microphone built into it. In theory, you could say, well, what if that device was also exploited and your TV and the microphone? But it's more of a lift. If you use a Roku, if you use a Chromecast, and you just don't use those smart TV features directly, you're going to be much safer. The other thing I wanted to mention is some people were asking me today about this. They're asking about things like Google Home and Alexa that take voice commands where you are.
Nope.
And it's important to note that at least as those things are supposed to be programmed, once again, we could say, well, have they been hacked? Probably not, but we're talking theoreticals now. In their normal usage, the way they're designed, they only are listening for the hot words that said. Alexa, Google, OK Google, Hey Google, things like that.
Yeah.
And they're not sending things off on the network until they hear that hot word. So that's a different design than some of these smart TVs that were actually taking everything they heard when the TV was on and sending them out.
All right, thanks, Lon. But what a story, because the CIA apparently targeted iPhones, Android phones, smart TVs, Microsoft, Mac, and Linux operating systems as well. Jeez. An Australian seafood company was recently convicted of animal cruelty for killing a lobster. The legally actionable problem was not actually taking the life of the lobster. It's that the lobster was killed in a way deemed to be unnecessarily and illegally brutal. A California company that supplies premium ingredients to pet food companies faces a criminal charge in federal court in St. Louis with accusations that it misbranded its products by using too many lower quality ingredients, such as chicken feathers, and not enough real chicken and other meat. A Wyoming ski instructor got into a bit of a sticky situation when he was impaled by an 18-inch tree branch while trying to jump between two trees. It went right through his lip and out. There's a picture at coasttocoastam.com in the news if you want to take a look. U.S. stocks have declined for a second day as the markets consolidate after the rally that came with President Donald Trump's first month in office. Let's check in with the expert, Catherine Austin Fitz. Is the economic honeymoon over yet, Catherine?
Well, the market and the business community are very excited about the possibility of regulatory relief, tax reform, and other things that the administration is clearly committed to doing. And so I would say the market's gotten a little bit ahead of earnings. But the other thing, George, is we have a great deal of fiat currency sloshing around the globe, and it wants a place to go. And if you take a look at both the housing market and the equity markets, they have a hint of inflation to them.
Now, with what has been happening lately, Catherine, in the news, I mean, it's almost as if the media is going to be relentless on this administration for everything. Granted, somebody's got to take that smartphone away from President Trump. He gets up in the morning, 6 in the morning, starts tweeting crazy things. That's got to stop too, but I mean, when's this going to end?
Actually, I would disagree with that, because I think...
You like it?
I love his tweets. I mean, that's how I follow what's happening with the administration. I mean, why not get it from the horse's mouth? I don't want to get it from the fake news. I'd rather get it from the president himself. So I, for one, would vote to continue the tweets, although I may not be in the majority there. But I think the American people elected this administration to do a series of things, and I think the big challenge, George, is if you have, the American people are focused on what the policies are. They don't care about the echo chamber. The echo chamber is sort of what's bouncing around as the different sort of trolls in the Beltway attack each other. So I think America is really focused on the substance. And if you look at what people want from Washington, they want everybody to stay focused. And that's why I think it's really, if Trump wants to do something, it's not stopping tweeting. He needs to set up an independent team to play war games. Because if that's what the Democrats and the Congress are going to do, then, or I shouldn't say the Democrats, if the Washington establishment wants to play war games, he just needs to set up a war game team so that his team that's making America great again doesn't get buried, by the politics. But I think the American people are going to judge him on the important focus, not on what's bouncing around in the echo chamber.
What is new at Solari.com?
Well, we just published our hard copy of our new wrap-up. I'm sending you 2 copies.
Oh, great. Love to read it.
Take a look. Yeah, it's we did a great one on the status of the food industry globally, and you know, whether or not you're living in a country that has a food surplus or a food deficit. Very important, George.
Catherine's website, solari.com. Thanks, Catherine. What an incredible story out of the United Kingdom. They found an incredible cave complex, apparently linked to the mysterious Knights Templar. Now, they haven't found any treasure yet, or at least they're not telling us they found it. But we've got that story in the news at coasttocoastam.com as well, almost like Indiana Jones. Singer George Michael apparently died of natural causes, according to a coroner. He had heart and liver issues, very serious. Panamanian former dictator Manuel Noriega was rushed into surgery for a second time after suffering a hemorrhage from an operation to remove a benign tumor from his brain. I forgot all about him. Didn't even know he was still alive. A study by Indiana University researchers has identified 24 compounds, including caffeine, with the potential to boost an enzyme in the brain shown to protect against dementia. Up next, it's called Incurable Me. Dr. Kenneth Stoller joins us, and we're going to talk about why the best medical research doesn't make it into clinic practice.
iHeartRadio is changing the way Canadians listen to radio. Stream hundreds of radio stations at your fingertips, including your favorite news and talk station. Join the conversation as it's happening with today's most controversial newsmakers, political pundits, and entertaining talk show personalities. Download the app today and get breaking news from across the globe and right around the corner. iHeartRadio, now available in Canada, and always free.
Lost your job? Here's another employment law myth from the Mythbuster, Lior Samfiru. Involving an employment lawyer? That's expensive. In reality, in most cases, legal fees would be nominal. There are several payment arrangements, and the employer will ultimately cover the fees. Don't sign anything before speaking with Lior Samfiru, host of the Employment Hour on News Talk 580 CFRA. Call 1-855-821-5900. That's 1-855-821-5900. Or email help@employmenthour.com.
There's a clear advantage to Marlboro Windows, like their experience.
We've been in business for 40 years. Our fathers before that have been in this business probably for over 20 years. So we're over 60 years when we talk about our families in this business.
With so many choices out there, Marlboro Windows' attention to detail and warranty make them the easy one.
We manufacture it from scratch. We do installation. Our warranty is no-nonsense warranty. It's for life.
Ottawa's only local window manufacturer, MarlboroWindows.com.
Hey, saw the Rogers truck outside your house?
Yep, just got the Crazy About Sports bundle.
Oh, really?
Well, actually, the Crazy About Sports, shopping online, and calling the in-laws bundle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What bundle fits your life? Switch to Rogers today with internet, TV, and home phones starting from $99.99 a month with guaranteed savings for 12 months. Plus, ask how you can get a $200 Rogers Visa prepaid card on us with select 3-product bundles on a 1-year term. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 or visit a store for details.
This is News Talk 580 CFRA.
What a great show we have in store for you tonight. Of course, we always do. Dr. Kenneth Stoller with us, MD, completed his training at the University of California at Los Angeles School of Medicine, practicing board-certified pediatrician for more than 2 decades, focusing on brain-injured children and adults using hyperbaric oxygen treatments, and they work. Dr. Stoller's area of expertise is functional medicine, also known as integrative medicine. He is the chief of hyperbaric medicine at the Hyperbaric Oxygen Clinic of San Francisco. We're talking about his work. Incurable Me. Dr. Kenneth, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on.
We're going to talk about a lot of afflictions and just all kinds. I've been getting emails all day from people who have Lyme disease, for example, and they're really in trouble. How come medicine isn't saving these folks?
Well, it's a simple answer. It's about money. Medicine is a business, and if there's not a big corporation making money, you don't hear about treatment. So, it's that simple.
We look at Incurable Me, where you take a look at the entire health program, and you say, again, like because of money, that profit and greed is determining therapies and how they handle it. Is that the same way in other countries, or is it different here?
It's nuanced a little bit, but we lead the world in this corporatization of healthcare. Other countries have a much more socialized system than we do. I mean, we're the only industrialized nation that doesn't have universal health care. So I would say we're kind of stuck in a rut in that department.
Why is it that common sense doesn't prevail? I mean, when we think about that tragedy in Flint, Michigan, with excess lead in the water system, how in the heck, doctor, does this stuff happen? Isn't anybody thinking?
Well, the problem with the Flint water is important because access to clean, safe, dependable water has done more for the health of humanity than anything else in the world. So the short answer is, in the case of Flint, job security. When you're employed by a bureaucracy, especially if there are political appointees in the hierarchy, your job is to keep your job. So you don't bring attention to yourself if you don't have to. And security, albeit false security, is to make sure the boat doesn't rock on your watch. In other words, maintain the status quo, don't ring alarm bells, and in the case of Flint, if the population consists mostly of a downtrodden, ethnically undesirable minority, all the better.
No.
But it's more nuanced than that because you have to take into account that most municipalities are deliberately poisoning the populations they serve with something even more toxic than lead, and I'm referring to fluoride.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, well, most of us have been falsely conditioned to believe fluoride will prevent tooth decay. So when you realize our public water systems have been co-opted to use a soft-kill bioweapon, fluoride, to make us sick and dumb because it does lower IQs and causes cancer, then as a bureaucrat whose primary motivation in life is to keep their job, are you going to concern yourself because the water has lead in it? Are you going to potentially lose your job for sounding the alarm when the system you work for is just fine with poisoning people through drinking water? I mean, if poisoning us is the game, who cares if there's fluoride or lead in the water? It'll just speed up the demise of the surplus population even faster. And I realize what I just said is going to shock a few people. So if anyone is shocked, ask yourself why we are putting into our drinking water something more poisonous than lead and calling it a public health measure.
Isn't it true that if you saw a truck that had fluoride in it as its cargo, you might see a picture of a skull with an X on it because that's a symbol for poison?
Absolutely. And, most of the fluoride that's used in drinking water comes from China contaminated with arsenic and lead. There's about 40 to 50 milligrams each per bag, but arsenic causes cancer in the parts per trillion range. And so that would mean for every 1 million consumers, it'll cause one case of cancer. But when you add in 50 milligrams of arsenic per bag of fluoride, that moves the arsenic levels from parts per trillion to parts per billion. So now instead of having one case of cancer per million of tap water consumers, you now have 1,000 cases. So the public has yet to fully understand that the major governmental health agencies, the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, the National Cancer Institute, and the pharmaceutical industry have a very